So I've been thinking, and I need your help. The video is a bit of a monologue, but please bear with it and help me as we develop what this channel is. Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Rev Dan. I'm a vicar in the Church of England. In these videos, in the early part of the week, I dig deeper into a subject to find out what's going on and how that could affect us. On a Friday, I do a video called Rev Dan's Roundup, looking at the news from around the world. In my last video on Friday, I talked about changing slightly the direction of the channel. And so now I've become the subject of my own video. What's going on? Why? You know, since February's vote on same-sex blessings in the Church of England, and what people are speaking about this, and more wider in the Church of England about what's going on, and really this channel has really taken off since that time. It's always sat with me, what is this for? You know, is God using this? Is it a calling? How's this working out? What's the purpose? And for me, purpose is absolute key. That's why I do my daily devotionals called Fulfilling Life. It's about purpose, and in that daily devotional, helping people think about the Bible and think about their lives. So for me, you know, what's our purpose? What's the purpose of this channel? God's given me this audience. What is it? I don't want to come across, and I said this on Friday, just moan about the Church of England all the time. You know, I'm a parish priest of the Church of England. Yes, at the moment the Church of England's going through a very bad time, and I comment on that. To be honest, what I do is I have some tabs, and I take the top news stories, and I look at the news stories, and then I speak about those news stories, and then I comment on those news stories. So in effect, I'm just commenting on the top. It's a newspaper roundup, in a sense. It's Rev Dan's roundup. I'm doing a newspaper roundup. So it's not even the stories that I'm choosing. These are the top stories. But because it's association, isn't it? It's the association. Because I'm a vicar in the Church of England, it will just look like I'm just moaning about the Church of England. And I get that, and I hear that. Had it been stories from outside the Church of England and dominated by that might have been saying something different. But that's where we are, and that's what we have to think about. And I don't want to always pop at the Church of England or talk about the LGBT issues, but we are dominated by them because that's where we are. But there are many issues, and I said in videos before that, you know, I'm quite honestly sick of talk about these sometimes, and there's more things to talk about. And there's bigger issues going on in the church worldwide, especially amongst the persecuted church. What's happening in Nigeria and North Korea and India and China at the moment is horrendous, and we as a church need to take that seriously. You know, if we're orthodox and stand on the Bible, we need to stand up and speak about these issues and pray for our brothers and sisters in persecuted churches. So, you know, that's been coming in. All this stuff has been developing as it's all happening. You know, and I also say I'm a parish priest. So I've also been thinking, you know, in my last video last week before the Rev Dan's Roundup, I was speaking about the Diocese of Ipswich doing critical race theory and white privilege, and giving that to their 87 schools they're in charge of, because they have them under a trust, and 85 of those are primary schools, and speak about these contested beliefs that come over from America as well, which is not really English based out of, and so it's, you know, there's a disconnect there as well. The two guys from Anglican Scripture speak about this very well in their last video, and them not understanding being American, why it's even coming over. But you know, if someone came to see me and that was in my parish or in the area and said, look, Rev Dan, as you know, as a priest, what would you say about this? I would say, you know, what I did say, we stand on the authority of the Bible, the world made in the image of God, as Paul writes. There's no Jew, Gentile, slave, free, you know, we're equal. And so that's where we should start from, and then advise on how they should engage with the school. Basically, what's happening online at the moment is I'm reporting on the news, and that's fine, but there is a disconnect between my calling and what I'm doing. So that's what I said on Friday. I want to bring that back. I want to bring that back to reporting on these things. But how does it come back to us as members in the church? So that's one of the things I want to do is not just leave these issues, and that's fine. We learn about these issues, but how do we react to these? Because it affects us on the ground. And what happens if it comes to one of our local churches? Because a lot of these issues can, even though they're in different dioceses or even different denominations as well, how this might help other people. So anyway, it's kind of finishing that circle, not just speaking about the story, but speaking into it, commenting on it still, but speaking into it. And the other thing, I got reminded, and this is something so easy for me to forget. I'm so passionate about the gospel, and a lot of these stories I speak about, they're blocks to the gospel. There's an opportunity to speak about the gospel, but we'll speak about these other things. So how, where those things are happening in churches or denominations in the Church of England, it has to be held accountable, but in the right way, and questions have to be asked. And I just don't want to come across like I'm criticising all the time, but that critical element comes in. But also, wanting to find out those questions is difficult because we're one way. So hopefully, be able to engage with people more to find out exactly why these things are happening and challenging them from a biblical perspective. Which is right, because I get challenged on my biblical perspective. So we should be quite open about that. I've got a list down here, so I will look and trying to raise my arms around as well. So and even on a personal point of view, I have a ministry here. And a kind of ministry online, and that's fair. And the Church of England will recognise that. We have many people out there commenting on news. We've got Giles Fraser on one side, Marcus Walker on another side, and there's many people who will go into the media and speak about these issues. And I very much quoted Marcus Walker last time about the white privilege in CTR in the school. So we are free in that sense, but we're not fully free. We probably will watch what we say. And of course, we're not employed by the Church of England because of the thing about calling and our stipends. But in any company that I worked for before, you can't be so free. You're working for a company, as it were. I'm working for a church. There are things that I have to. That's the reality of the world. It'd be lovely for me to say what I want to say, but I can't, and that's just where we are. And it's always been. It's not because I've been told. By the way, someone put in comments that I've been told. No, I haven't been told. It's just a reality, and I've always tried to develop the channel around that. But and personally, look, my son's going into year 11 next year, doing GCSEs. The last thing we want to do is open ourselves up as family to anything that negative coming in that will affect his last year at secondary school and his GCSEs. And this is from a personal point of view, because when I was 14, my dad died, and my school didn't help me, and it was a torrid time, and I left school without any GCSEs. I had to fight for my education, but I will not put my son go through that. So yes, do I limit? Yes. But I'm not going to come back. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop speaking about what I speak about, because that's really important. And like I said, it's more about accountability. So this is more about developing the argument and speaking about it from how does this affect us as people and as Christians. I also want to bring in not just Christian news, but things that are happening outside. I saw two things this week. One about TikTok, with this new craze going around where people are buying fruit and virtual fruit, and people on the other side of the camera, like I am, will see that, whatever it's a cherry or whatever it is, and make a noise. And they make money about this, and it's just ridiculous. It's just, how do we react to that as Christians and with our children? The same with this lady who married an AI character. She's so lonely. She said, I'm so lonely. She got this AI character and she married this AI character, and she's got no community. And so it's looking at the stuff outside as well. It's really important that we bring the gospel and things outside as well, because this is what it is ultimately. It's like preaching a sermon without application. When you do a sermon and people are like, oh, that's really nice, and you're doing this and this, and you're not challenging the congregation to do anything about it, they feel quite protected. That's nice. That's a great story, Dan. It's great that you're doing this this week in the parish, or that person went off and did that in their lives. But we sit quite comfortable because you haven't challenged us. And now it's about like bringing that application in. And my hand's going, and kind of developing this into a ministry. If this is a non-ministry, I'm in the Church of England, and is this something that God has called me to do? We are in a very difficult time in the Church of England. We don't know what will happen in November, and we're talking about differentiation and structures and informal structures and things like that. And there's people that write to me who are very isolated in that sense. They are in parishes, churches, benefices where they don't agree with their priests or the bishops, and a lot of the Church of England is rural, and they got nowhere else to go. And I've listened to that, and I recognise that. I spoke to someone this week who said, I said, it's become between the clergy and the bishops really, and it's about us, the ordained, and not about you guys. And he said, yes, Dan, yes, I've been thinking that for a while. You laity who are disenfranchised, don't know where to go. We're all going through this. Do we stay? Do we go? Do we stay in our church? Do we fight? Do we, so we need to speak to you as well, and not just into our situation, but understand as churches that ordained and laity are going through this, and the wrestling that we all go through. So while I'm here, and I'm here for you. I'm here for you as well. You can write to me. My email is revdan@monoingles.com. Got a new email to separate everything out. And to tell me how I can help you, especially on this channel. Listening to that person who says, I really struggle going to my parish church, and I thought about, could we develop, and it's quite easy, a service that we put out online that people can watch. I've learned enough of doing YouTube. Now I'm making videos. These things don't take much time, and we can get different people sending videos for the readings, and get different people to preach and things, and it's putting them together. Something like that with pre-recorded other things. It can take less than half an hour to chat together. It's quite easy because all of this is done in my spare time. So I divide my day into 3 different sections, and when I got spare time, I'll work on some social media stuff. So it's all outside of my job. My first priority is my parish, and we've got a lot of work to do here. But like I said, because I've worked doing YouTube and social media now for quite a few years, I've nailed doing these things. This video will be recorded and up very quickly. There's not too much editing because I'm doing a monologue, so I don't have to edit, saving time, because I've had a busy day. I've been going for hours and hours. So it's looking at, is that something that would interest you? This is something that I want to hear off you. You can put it in the comments below. Are you feeling that it's difficult at your church at the moment? You're not knowing where to go. You're waiting to November. Is there something? What can we do? So that's the first edit, because I needed a drink of my tea, getting a dry mouth. So it's about listening, and I managed to carve out time now. I didn't have time to read the comments as much, but I do now, and listening, and helping people when we have issues. How do we take these into our Christian lives and as churches, and how do we work these out? How do we go through? So I'm not stepping back from those stories, unless the Church Times steps back from those stories, and Christianity Today and the Premier Christian News, because if they're there, I will comment on them. But it's also looking broader as well into other denominations. I know the Baptist Union are going through an interesting time as well. We're all going through this, and so how do we support each other as brothers and sisters in Christ, reacting to these news, and also reacting to the news outside let's not make it, if the clergy and the bishops make it about us and forget about the laity so much, let's not make it about what's happening in the UK and what's happening with our brothers and sisters worldwide, bringing those news. Also, good news. Oh, well, good news. It's actually quite interesting. It is depressing looking at bad news all the time. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people who take on that news and it can just get you down. So it's about balancing this out and having fun as well. This amazing thing. God is amazing. The gospel is amazing. So I want to get back basically to what I do best. And I love evangelism. I love the gospel. But anything that blocks that needs to be challenged and in the right way. Right, I don't want to be known or thought as a real right-wing nutter, which I've heard many times. And not that far right, actually. But, when you pop your head up and speak about these things, people will label you. So what I want to do is make this a practical reality, listening to where I can help. So send in questions and how I can connect you to different places, find you places where you feel that you can worship. If the online thing could happen, that would be amazing. If it's needed, if it's not needed, that's absolutely fine. But this is about developing and now creating community with an online presence and being that kind of parish priest for those who feel that they haven't got anywhere to go at the moment. And that's just a stopgap, because we should all be plugged into the local church. That's so important. But online is something that has been going, and people find that on community online. But being present among the local church. But I know it's difficult for people who feel that they cannot go to their church at the moment and feeling quite lonely and isolated. So that's why I say I'm here for you. We can do something. We can work together. We can make something work, so we can create that online presence where we can just come together to worship, come together to speak, come together and create those structures. They're already as well. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's structures there already that we can plug into as we go on this journey. So the channel now is just about more purpose. I'm called as a priest. That's what I love. I love to preach the gospel. And so it's bringing and just one square in the circle, but also finishing the circle, as I said before. It's going to be an exciting journey. It's going to be development. It's not always going to be the same because we're bringing in different elements, but it is about, I'm here in the Church of England. I'm here in my parish. I said I'll stay in the parish. Sometimes it feels difficult with things going on, but I am a local parish priest, and that's the other thing. It's about the local church. The local church. That's where Christianity and faith really happens. We've got all these structures in our denominations and in the Church of England, but sometimes that feels very far away from speaking to people who are going through difficult situations in the local church. I don't think about all those other things as I'm ministering to people who are really suffering, who might not have any food, who got bad news, who are dying, or none of the other stuff matters. It is about the gospel at the end of the day at the local parish church. So that's my monologue. Well done for staying with us, with me. And like I said, put your comments below and let's see what we can create online and see what God's calling us to do and be.